Sonjia and this is my channel, See It Then, See It Now. Today's video has been a mammoth task, so if you've seen when I created the hat, I did say that I was going to display this, and today's video is how I come to display it. It did turn into a massive project. I did also have some help from a very good friend of mine, TheWannabeWelder, Welder, but more about that later on in the video. This is the same theme as the hat and the clock that I've recently posted. If you haven't seen those, then do go check them out. Just before we jump into the video, if you're not yet subscribed, then please do consider subscribing and we'll jump straight in. For this project I wanted a tall vase, but I was struggling to find one in the shape that I wanted. So I decided to use two vases and glue them together. The one that I'm using for the bottom half of the vase, which is the one I've just started painting here, this one I've had for a couple of years. It was given to me a couple of years ago. The vase that I'm using for the top half is from Ocre. So I started off by giving them 2 coats of French sheet paint in the colour Blackjack. I used a sponge to remove the brush strokes, and when I applied the second coat I also dabbed on some copper paint over the top of the still wet black paint, just to sort of blend the 2 colours together. I loved the way that this looked, but you'll see later on in the video that I do end up changing my mind on this and I go in a different direction, but it's not because I don't like it. I did actually really like this look. I wanted to put some of these cogs and gear stencils onto the vase using the textured paste like I did when I created the clock piece for the wall. This, however, was a little bit more difficult to do. The curved surfaces of the vase did actually make it a little bit more of a challenge. I did have some attempts that I wasn't happy with, and if it didn't go on very well, I just scraped it off and had another go. If there were just small areas that the paste had gone under and the stencil had smudged a little bit, I just tidied it up with a little paintbrush. Looking back at this footage, I think I must have had my fussy head on. I didn't think that bit looked all that bad, but quite clearly I thought that it needed to be redone and scraped it all off. I added all these gears to the vases over several days. The problem was that once I'd added a bit of the paste, I had to then wait for it to dry before carrying on and adding some more, so that I didn't smudge any of the wet paste, trying to add them all at the same time. So I did actually complete this section of the project over several days. I have mentioned in previous videos that I had some help with a bit of this video. My friend Mandy is a welder and she so kindly allowed my editor and I to go visit her at her studio out in the countryside. We filmed quite a lot of footage here, and we also had a chat with her about what she does and how she became a welder. I'm going to show this throughout the video. She's such an interesting woman, so I really do hope you enjoy this. Let's take a look.
Right, here we go.
Right,
Get serious. We have been recording for 9 minutes.
She'll look into it, don't they?
If you saw the video where I created the steampunk hat, I did say that I was going to find a way to display that, and that I was going to enlist the help of one of my good friends, Mandy. and I'm here today in a workshop, and I'm going to introduce her and let her tell you about what she does. So this is Mandy.
Hi. Yeah, so as she said, I'm Mandy. I'm a welder. Well, I've only been doing it for about 2 or 3 years. An artisan welder, someone may call me. And I just make anything and everything that my imagination desires out of as much scrap as I can find, because, you know, it's good for the environment and it's free.
So what made you become a welder?
Right, okay, so I really just love making things. Just anything, it doesn't matter what it's out of. And my husband welds, but he does like proper welding, like not this sort of crap that he tells me.
Grown-up welding.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly it, proper grown-up welding. And I said, oh, that looks like fun, can I have a go? And he said, yeah. So I said, oh, can you teach me how to do it? He said, hold here, point there, off you pop. And I just said, no, that's not. And then on a whim, I decided I was going to go to night school and learn to weld. So far I've done 6 night school courses, and then had the crazy idea that I actually really loved it and I should just set up a business and quit my job to weld full time. Perhaps I'm having a midlife crisis, but yeah. So yeah, that's how I decided to learn to weld. That's why I do it, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I love it, and just keep getting, you know, more exciting from there, really.
Have you always been interested in crafting like this, sort of creating rather?
Yeah, always made things from, like, I used to bead necklaces and things like that when I was a kid. I loved to paint. I had a living room and I'd painted chevrons on the wall, like just lining papered it, painted it and then put chevrons on it. I've like put lights and flowers on bird cages. I've done all sorts. I did a silversmithing course at college when my son was little, because I thought, oh, I need something else to do at night once he's in bed. I didn't know it was silversmithing, it just said jewellery making. And then it turned out to be, like I say, silversmithing, so I learned how to do that, soldering, and then I got really into that. But you can only take that so far without being properly educated and apprenticed, and I just wasn't in the place to do it. And then obviously the welding came along, and you can kind of make that up as you go along. I'm not welding structural stuff really. We have made a bridge and we are making a balcony, but a Juliet one, so not like a walk-in on balcony. So I don't need to be coded, I don't necessarily need to be you know, qualified in certain thicknesses of materials. I can just tack it, as my husband says, and make it up. So that's how it got to this, I think.
Obviously making bead bracelets and painting and stuff is a bit delicate, and this is not at all delicate. Do you ever get comments about that?
Yeah, I do. So when I first decided I was going to learn to weld, I was going to set up an Insta page, and my sister and my son was like, no, you need to do TikTok. And I was like, it's for kids, I don't even have it. So they bullied me and they made me do TikTok. So my trade name, if you will, is TheWannabe Welder, which was because I wanted to be a welder. I was learning to weld, and I wanted to inspire other women, or just, you know, girls out there, that actually you could do an apprenticeship. That is a thing for girls now. You can go and do a man's job, and for the most part, like I'd say like 99% of the time, it's fine. You do get a few men that are like, oh, are you sure you're in the right shop, love? Yeah, I could probably do it better than you, man. Whatever. But yeah, so like reception wise, it's been fabulous. So Lincoln Electric, which is a really big welding brand, they found me on Instagram. They invited me to go to the Catch Welding School in Grimsby. I didn't even know welding schools were a real thing in England. I thought that was like on telly. For International Women's Day, and we had like some year 10 girls come in, and with like me and another couple of girls, women, that were welders, and like sports them and things like that. So that was really, really cool. That is probably the best thing that I've done since I started to weld, because that was the point of this, that yes, I am filthy. Yeah, thank you. I'm filthy. I'm covered in scars and paint and burns, but you know what? It's alright. I can get a shower and still look like a girl, and it's good fun. It really, really is good fun, and much better than I don't know.
Decoupaging?
No, I know. I was just going to say something really mean, like such fun and perfect. No, let's not tear another girl down.
Oh, let me just say that, okay, I do the decoupaging and all the delicate things, but I plumbed in sinks and
yeah, see,
cut worktops out and all that kind of stuff as well. Like, so
yeah, well, like I said, the cages with flowers and lights and shit. So yeah, not to belittle anybody else's skill or any other, but
I wanted the arrangement in a tall vase, but a lot of the tall vases I looked at were small at the bottom and went wider at the top. The arrangement for this is going to make the vase top heavy, so I wanted the vase to have a wide bottom to help counterbalance this and to keep it more sturdy, and that's why I went with these two vases. What I thought would also help would be to weigh the bottom down with some sand. How much sand to add was the dilemma. After all, once the arrangement goes in, I'll still need to be able to lift the whole thing up. Once the sand was in, I packed out the inside of the vase just with some carrier bags and rags, just to stop the sand from moving about. I was just about to glue these two vases together when I realised that my craft table is not 100% level. So I used some cardboard to level up the bottom vase, and then I glued the two vases together using Gorilla Glue. I weighted the top down and left it overnight to dry. To try and disguise the gap where the two vases met, I decided to fill it in with some of the textured paste. I just popped it in with a palette knife and then wiped off the excess with a damp cloth. Once that was dry, I added some more textured gears over the gap to tie in with the ones I'd already put on the two vases. Now if you look, I have actually painted out the copper that I'd painted onto the gears, and that's because I'd had a change of plan with this. I did like the way that it looked with the copper, but I felt like the vase was going to look too similar to the flower arrangement colours. So I decided to paint it back to black, and I decided to use the silver gilding wax to give it a totally different colour. I did have some silver planned for the arrangement, but I felt that most of the colours in the arrangement were going to be the coppers and the gold colours, so I just felt that by making the vase silver it would contrast better. But what do you guys think? Should I have left it the copper, or do you prefer the silver? I'd love to know your opinion. Let me know in the comments. Okay, so I decided to make some cogs and gears for the floral display, just to pack it out. I think it'll look smart just to have some cogs and gears. I don't want to put actual cogs and gears on because they're too heavy. I need to start thinking about the weight, because I've got some metal in here and the hat's quite heavy, and the weight is starting to really mount up, and it's going to be top heavy at best. So I've decided to make some out of cardboard and something nice and lightweight. So I've done this one, and I'm going to bob that into the middle of it. I've done this one, and I've just popped a washer in the middle of that one. So basically, to make these, that's just two pieces of cardboard stuck together. This thicker one I used, I don't know what this is, but it came in some packaging, it's like squidgy foam type product. So I cut some gears out I printed some gears off Canva and I cut them out, and then I drew around the foam and I cut the foam out, and then I started drawing around the card, and I cut some pieces of card out as well. I used PVA glue and a couple of blobs of hot glue just to stick a piece of card to each side of the foam. Now would have been a really good time to attach the wire for the stem. It could have been glued between these layers, but I had no idea how much I needed, how long I needed the stems to be, and I didn't want to waste loads of wire. Some of them, if these were going to be at the top of the arrangement, they'd need really long wires, and if they were going to be at the bottom of the arrangement, they'd need really short ones, and I just didn't want to be so wasteful with the wire. So I decided just to put the wires on as I was doing the arrangement, but I would have got a better finish if I'd have put them on at this stage and stuck them in between these layers. To cover the rest of the foam, I used masking tape and taped all around the edges. Once I had all the edges covered with the masking tape, I covered the whole thing with a couple of layers of napkin. I do like it when I get to use some of these napkin pliers that I separate from the decoupage projects. They do come in handy from time to time. And I didn't worry at all about having wrinkles in this. I wanted there to be a bit of texture, so I was totally fine with the wrinkles. Once the napkin layers were dry, I gave the whole thing a coat of black acrylic paint. I then played around with some coloured acrylic paints and some gilding waxes just to vary the look of these cogs, and I used the colour just to highlight but not totally cover, because I wanted the black to show through and I wanted to highlight the wrinkles that I created when I used the napkin. Here I'm using a mixture of red and brown acrylic paint mixed together. I will put a list of what I use in the description box just in case you're interested in any of them. These little cogs are made when I was making the steampunk hat, and these are just made from a mould, and I used hot glue in the mould just to create these little cogs. And I'm really struggling explaining what I'm doing here because it feels really unstructured, and that's because I was just playing around with colour and just seeing where it took me. It was just purely just going with trying different things. If that didn't look right, I went over it. So I'm really struggling to tell you what I'm doing because I'm not actually following a process. I am literally just going with the flow and seeing where I ended up. I decided to pop some copper gilding wax over the red and black, and I really like the look of this. So I ended up giving all the ones that I painted red a little bit of this copper over the top, and I just thought it looked really, really nice. It was so pretty the way that you got the 3 different colours coming through. Once the paint was dry, I finished these off with some extra cog embellishments. So I used this wire I got from a garden centre many years ago, so I cannot tell you the thickness because unfortunately it no longer has a label. I wrapped the wire around this paint tub, I think about 20 to 25 times. If you do give this a go, just make sure that you don't wrap the wire too tight. This paint tub wasn't the ideal thing because with it being plastic it was a bit squidgy, and on one of them I did it a little bit tight, and getting it over the end of the bottle because it had kind of squished the bottle in a little bit made it very difficult to get it off. So I've got my 2 ends, one's there and one's there. I need to squidge these together so that they end up in the middle. And I need to get this somewhere near so it's equal at both sides, and then once I've got it equal at both sides I just need to give this a twist. I'm going to take my long piece and I'm going to wrap it round, and I'm just going to twist it around a couple of times, just as tight as I can, just to hold it all in place. I took a 3rd piece of wire. This was from the inside of an artificial flower stem, and I inserted it into the twisted centre. I bent it at the top around the other wires, and then I twisted the 2 first wires around this 3rd wire to make a stem. And the reason I did this was to give the stem a little bit of extra support so that it could hold the weight of the flower. As it turns out, it still wasn't strong enough. By the time I glued the centre in, it had missed it. So if I hadn't been putting that centre in, it would have been strong enough. But because I put that centre in, it was still not strong enough. So I did end up using another piece of wire and wrapping the whole thing, these 3 stems around that 1 wire to make an even thicker wire so that it could hold the weight of the flower. That was one of those really difficult to explain moments. I hope that made sense. So that's going to be my back. This is going to be my front. And all I'm going to do is separate all my loops and just pull them round to make a flower shape. Then it was over to my super duper spray booth for a quick couple of coats of white spray paint. I used Gorilla Glue and a bit of hot glue just to attach a bolt to the centre of each flower, and I also added a little cog as well. I used one of these flowers when I was decorating the cardboard hat, and I decided to use these other ones for the arrangement. After breaking up the clip and cutting off the little prongs, I gave them a coat of black acrylic paint. I then went round the edges of each petal with some copper acrylic paint. I then glued some cogs and gears onto the petals just to make them look pretty. These plastic leaves were part of an arrangement I've had on display for years, and I thought these plastic leaves would look really well in this project, so I pulled it to bits. And using acrylic paint, I painted the leaves. I was going for a look of copper strands. These metal balls have been in my stash for years. I bought them for a different project that didn't happen because we had a house fire and the project just got put on hold and then it never happened. They were silver, but they've tarnished over time, so I gave them a refresh with some gold spray paint. Sorry about this one, I cannot find the above footage for these flowers and it's very difficult to see what I'm doing from this angle. But I used the clay roller and I wrapped the wire around it to make a petal shape. I then twisted the metal and manipulated it and then continued to wrap it around the roller until I had 5 petals. And then I twisted it into the shape of a flower and they were very easy to do. It was very simple. Once I had the shape of a flower, I gave them a small cog as a centre like I did with the other wire flowers.
So if you had you walk into your high school and give you a talk about sort of women in engineering, is that something that would have encouraged you to do this sooner?
Yeah, like I don't think that it never occurred to me to weld before, and had it not been for my husband, I probably would never have done it, and he's been smashing, he's like so behind me, it's unreal. But when I was choosing my GCSEs, I expressed an interest in doing like an MVQ, I think it was at the time, in construction, and they just basically said, paraphrasing, that's for thick people, those that aren't going to get the GCSEs, not for you, man. Nobody like said out about apprenticeships or anything like that. It wasn't the done thing for girls. There's like childcare or hairdressing or A-levels, and there's nothing wrong with that, but not everybody's book smart. Some people want to, and it's such a big thing now. Like,
I really do think that if you are creative in the way that you are, it steers you down that creative,
yeah.
Like, so like for example, I'm really creative, and I took jobs on purely because I had young children and it was a working out, and I did factory work,
you did what you needed
I waited on, I did whatever I needed to do, and I work in an office now, but I love creating, and I think that is what I would be better doing.
Yeah, because you love it, and you're passionate about it, so you care more about it.
And I think if I was to go back, I think I would have chosen a completely different route. Knowing now how much I love to create, and thinking about it, I was the same when I was growing up. If there was ever any workmen in my house, I was watching how they were doing it, and if my dad were decorating, I'd be there helping him and watching him how we put wallpaper on the walls and stuff, and I couldn't wait to jump in and do those kind of things, and I was right, I've always been like, no, I'll have a go, Oh, the staircase needs planks, ladders, and it's like, get down off there, you're going to fall. I'm like, no, it's my wall, my problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then when you've done it, you get that great satisfaction at saying, I did that.
You've done that, and well, this is it. We've built that bridge, and then we've done a couple of gates, and now we're doing this balcony, and I can feel that I'm definitely the workman in me. That's every time we drive past. I did that. I welded that. When we renovated a house, literally knocked it from like practically to the ground. We didn't do the outside walls, but we built it back up. And I'd lied to my husband that I knew how to tile. I'd never tiled before, but I had watched my mum, and I'd helped her intently for several years because my mum did all the DIY. So by the time we was on our 3rd set of tiling, I decided I was going to do herringbone. I watched a 2-minute video on B&Q, and I was like, it's a 45-degree angle, how hard is that? And we did it, and it looks fun. And it's even got glitter grout in it, because why not go the extra mile? And then we were doing it, and we got stuck on the windowsill, and he said to him, I was like, I don't know how to do it. He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I lied. I said, we wouldn't have done it if I'd have said, I don't know. Yeah. You would have hired a man or somebody. But look at us, we're professionals now, this is the 3rd time we've done it. If a boy can do it, then we can definitely do it.
When I was a kid, and then I got a boy told me I couldn't climb the tree, and I was like, I'll show you. And I climbed the tree, I couldn't get down.
He didn't challenge you to get down, did he? He said, up that tree.
I had to go there, like, I can't get down, and he had to go get my dad, and I had to jump out the tree into my dad's arms.
I could get up there.
I could get up there.
I took a new picture of that.
So you don't just make bridges and balconies. What else do you do?
Well, it's just everything. So, for instance, this one's left over for Christmas, really. But it's a plant pot reindeer holder. I make alliums, pig planters. I've got this, I just need to drill another hole in it. It's a hanging basket bracket. So, and I go to markets, they do artisan markets. So specifically, I'm normally at the Burnley Artisan Market, and then they've got Haworth and Settle. Obviously I'm online, TikTok, Facebook, Insta, everything. We sell bits and bobs on there. But mostly I would say it's the artisan markets, and it's a real thing actually at the minute. Like, there's so many fabulous makers and such out there, and I think they're getting a real revival, like local towns. For instance, I do one in Settle. Now, on a Sunday in Settle, it's practically dead. There's no anything, hardly any. The shops are open, and since the market's been there, a lot more shops are opening on Sundays in Settle. It's bringing a lot more life back to the town. So that's always a double whammy for me, that you're helping local shops by being there. That's making their business busier, that's making our business busier. So
That's fab.
You can see a pig in the background.
no,
Where do you get all this Farrier's horseshoes from?
I know a farrier really well.
No.
Or James knows a farrier really well, and he won't take any payment. He just
Just
give
He's
them.
like,
And then-
thank God I've got somewhere to get rid of
I know,
these.
well, my a lady at work just gave me a bag of trampoline springs.
No, okay.
She's like, "Do you want a marker?" "Yeah, I do." And then
This does sound familiar. How did you get some bits for your next project? Someone just turned up with a bag full of
yeah, that's literally what happens. It happens all the time. There's a mechanic. He doesn't like have unit here anymore, but he changed some brake discs, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing with them?" And he was like, "Nothing." And I was like, "Fab, can I have them?" So he brought all 4 of them in.
One of my questions, can you explain this picture?
So there was a man that I did some alliums for, and he wanted like this thing, bracket-ish, I don't know what to call it, making. So he had a stone that he found in a river that was a top stone off of, I think it might have been a grave if I'm honest, and it had true friend like carved in whatever they do to stone in it, and he wanted this metal thing to sit underneath and behind with some alliums on the top. So we made the bracket, put the stone on, made sure it all fit, but because everything was so top heavy, it just made sense to lay it on the floor and weld it so it could get a really good position. And I've got to think about climbing on stuff and laying on the floor. People often comment like, "Dude, just get a ladder or a step or something," and I'm stood on this bench like, no. Like the one where I fell off the pig, oh my god, yeah, that stung a bit. I had a square bruise on my bum.
I must admit, you sent that picture through and I was like, "Oh, Amanda, you're so badass."
It's the helmet, I think. It's this, it
Yeah,
just makes
it
me
is,
look
doesn't
really
it?
like...
Is there anything else you'd like to say regarding being a woman in welding?
I think look, when I started to learn, I was literally the only girl in my course. By the time I'd done my 6-1, we had like, I think 4 or 5 of us across all evenings that were welding, and it's like our own little girl posse. So I just think, you know, yeah, it's mostly men. Usually it's all right, there are some plonkers, but don't matter what industry you do, you get that. And I just think that it's important that girls should feel encouraged, that they should feel welcome, and that it's okay and it's safe. And quite frankly, why let all the boys have all the fun? This is so much. Yeah, I love it. This is wicked. Yes, it is dirty, but you know, and it is a bit cold. Layer up. You know, wash your hands. You'll be ready. Honestly, just have a go. That's it, really.
And where can we find you if we're interested in any of your
Where can you find me? You can watch me weld and burn myself and fall off things on Facebook, TikTok, and Insta, and it's just TheWannabeWelder. Welder.
It'll be here. It'll be here on the screen.
So, can we have a look at what you've done for me?
You can indeed. But I've made you this beautiful tiny allium, which is considerably smaller.
So, how did you get on with wearing your gloves being so much smaller? Was it hard work?
So I've got different gloves.
Okay.
I have some TIG gloves, which really is for much lighter welding, but I need to be able to get them. So I've got some little thinner gloves. I had to buy the smallest nails that I've ever bought, special for you. So here is one that I've half made. I thought I'd let you watch me do some more. So it's, a lot of people wonder how I managed to do this, but if you just leave the wire on the MIG gun sticking out a little bit, you can get right in there and just dob it on. You know. Technical term, yeah. Not proper welding. You're stuck in. Yeah, it's quite easy actually, and there's no uniform to it. You can just...
Right, okay, so only looking through the phone.
Yeah, I promise you'll both be fine, just but only look through the phone. You won't look a great long way on the phone anyway, because it's like looking at someone you can't see what you're doing.
Are you very concerned?
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a go at welding. How scary is that?
If that makes sense. It doesn't really matter if it's too big. It just yeah.
You have to do the Mandy head flip.
You have to nod. A bit on it.
Really?
Right. You only really need one book, but I'll give you both. Just so that you feel a bit more comfortable. Instead, if I come back to it from here. Basically, all we do, in fact, put your rug down. Press that trigger whilst it's touching the bit at the end. You see that wire? Mm-hmm. Yeah? I'm not great yet, stop flinching. If that's to touch the metal because it's conducting. Mm-hmm. And you just press the trigger. And that's it, yeah? Mm-hmm. So, you can either stand or sit down. You're just going to get a nail, put it on, and then basically, but you can look what you're doing and not turn away like me. So, sit down if you want, by all means. Just put it on any way you want. It doesn't really matter because I'll fill whatever if we leave a gap. So you hold it with that end. I'll hold the flower, you hold the nail. That's it. And then just press it for a couple of seconds and let go. It don't matter if you press it too long or too little. Right at the bottom, and you've got to aim like in the corner of where the nail and the ball meet. There you go, you did it! You did it! Check you
Again!
You can do it again if you want.
Really fiddly into
It is a little bit with these gloves. But you've got tiny hands, so they're probably far too big for you already. Oh, that's alright. We'll just throw that one on the floor and get a new one. That's why we have a scrap pile up for.
Did you break it? Did you break it?
No, she moved.
Oh,
so that it stopped being stuck and then, yeah, I do it all the
She
time.
jumped.
There's no bad that can happen. You just cut it off and start. Try again, that's alright. Try and keep your left hand pushed in. You've got to sort of lock that on. Is that better? Yeah.
Did you frog it up?
Which might have done, but it can get a bit dirty. Oh no, you did alright though, you did good.
You did good on your first try.
Yeah. I think you're overthinking it now. And it doesn't matter anyway because...
We got the shot and that's all that matters.
Thank you so much for this. It's been such good fun.
Oh, I don't know, you're so
Wait till I tell the supervisor I've been welding.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you for the flower. flowers, they're going to look amazing.
Oh good, I'm really pleased that you like them.
If you want to follow, not if you want to, go and follow. If you want to see what Mandy can do, then go and see on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. And it's the Wannabe Welder.
Yeah.
But I will put the link in the description. Now back to the video.
I love that.
To attach the wire to the hat, I made 2 holes in the bottom. I put a big blob of glue on the end of a wire, and I inserted it into one of the holes. I then popped a small nut onto the wire, and I glued the wire around the hole and the nut all together. I then repeated this on the second hole, and this worked absolutely fine. To attach the wire to the back of the cogs and the flowers, I used Gorilla Glue and a bit of hot glue, and I glued the wire to the back. I then secured it in place with a piece of masking tape just until the glue had dried. Once the glue was dry, I removed the masking tape, and any bits of masking tape I couldn't get off, I've just painted over the top of with the same colour as what was on the back of the flower or the cog. I had my vase, I had my flowers, I had my cogs, and I had my hat, and now I needed to put the whole thing together and make it look pretty. And to be perfectly honest, at this point I really wasn't sure how I was going to make this happen. First, I packed the vase out with floral foam, and then I started the arrangement by adding the 2 heaviest flowers and the hat. I wanted the hat to be in the centre, so it made sense to put that in first and then build around it, and the heaviest flowers needed to be more central and not out to the sides where the weight could tip the vase. I mean, they did have to hang to the side a little bit because they had to go around the hat, but I didn't want them hanging a long way over so that there was a chance they could tip the vase. Also, this arrangement is going on a staircase and there is limited space for it, so I couldn't have the arrangement too big and coming over the sides too much because of that reason as well. It was time to start building up around the hat and building this arrangement up, trying to make it look pretty. I really liked how these copper leaves look twisted into the spiral shape. When I started building up around the hat and the 2 flowers, I was concerned it wasn't working, and I was really struggling to see my vision materialise. But this was the point when I could see this arrangement was coming together and my idea was finally starting to take shape. And this is the point at which I felt the relief of realising that it was actually working. So onward and upward, carrying on, putting in more pieces, building up the arrangement and making it look really pretty. Now the arrangement was pretty much there, I just popped it in situ and just checked whether I needed to make any little tweaks. How fabulous does that look? I'm so pleased with it. It got so nice with the clock as well. So let's have a reminder and see it then. And let's see it now. I know I say this every time, but I absolutely love how this turned out. Although, to be honest, there were a couple of moments where I did wonder what I was doing, and I did think that it wasn't going to work and it was going to be a complete flop. But we got there in the end and it looks amazing. But let me know what you think. Hit that like button and leave me a comment. I've absolutely loved exploring the steampunk thing, and I really can see me doing a little bit more like that in the future. What are your thoughts? Do you like the steampunk thing? Would you like me to steer clear of the steampunk thing? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Also, what were your thoughts on the collaboration with the Wannabe Welder? Did you enjoy that? Would you like more of the collaboration type stuff? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm also on TikTok and Pinterest. If you haven't subscribed, then do please subscribe. It does help my channel to grow. I have got more coming on the guest bedroom, so the wardrobe is ready for editing. We've got some more pieces of furniture coming, some bits and pieces to go in there. I've got some bedside tables, bedside lamps. There's all sorts of stuff that I'm doing, all upcycled items. I'm not buying anything new. The only thing new in there is going to be carpet and curtains. So do keep an eye out for when they come out. We'll have something else out to you very soon, and I'm going to stop talking now and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Oh, you two are so cute.
Aren't we?
This is why I don't have a fringe, because I wear glasses. I really love a fringe, but it really... A wrinkle curtain!